cover everything. So what we'll be doing in this final section is we will be playing a game. We will be opening this up for all other Premier League fans on our website www.premierleaguemuseum.com as well pretty soon. But just to give you a preview, this is a game that we will be playing with the three of you, where we'll be predicting how and why each of the clubs will be placing themselves in either the champion spot or the Europa League. So let's talk about relegation zone. So who are the contenders for relegation zone? Not really saying who are the bottom three, but who will be the contenders, 4 or 5 teams which will be contenders for relegation this season. And this time I'll go first. So I'll start first. So I think for me, I personally think West Ham, totally a chaos. I think David Moyes should have been replaced. I think West Brom and Slavan Bilic will give them a good lesson this season as to what they are missing. So according to me, West Ham will definitely be one of the contenders, big contenders for relegation. Fulham, I think Fulham will again be contenders for. I know that Scott Parker has done a brilliant job in getting them back into Premier League. I know that their owner has said this time they won't repeat the same mistake as previous season where they invested a lot. They think they have a good squad, but I think they will still fall short of Premier League quality. And yes, they made it by beating Brentford and coming into the Premier League, but I think they'll fall short of the standards of Premier League and will again go down. And my third sure shot pick, which I think is going to be relegated or be in the fight for relegation, in fact, will be Crystal Palace. So I definitely think Crystal Palace will be under some turmoil. I know Roy Hodgson has done a fantastic job so far in maneuvering the team out of the relegation zone, and also so far has managed to retain Wilfried Zaha, and Eze has been one of the key players he has added. But I think this is the season when it all goes wrong for Roy Hodgson, and it's one too many for the most experienced guy of current managers in the Premier League. So I want to be Crystal Palace, and finally Newcastle. I think Steve Bruce will continue to handle the chaos that always accompanies St. James Park beyond just the football, which is sold, not sold. And I think this time they will be. I haven't heard any good, although I'm hearing some rumors, but won't like to discuss them as yet. So would say that Newcastle, based on the current transfer dealings, is definitely another contender for relegation. So yep, these would be my spots for relegation. Let's go to Sarthak Sharma now.
Yeah, three strong picks from you, Prashant. I would agree with you with regards to Crystal Palace because I saw them towards the end of last season, and they went on this horrific run of defeats. So about 7 defeats, straight defeats, which is just not acceptable. They were lucky that they done well enough in the first half of the campaign to really, save them, not really put them under too much of pressure. But I think they'll struggle this time. And Wilfried Zaha is of course their best player, but there's only so much that he can do on a personal level as well. They haven't been strong enough in the transfer windows in the past, which tells me that maybe they don't have enough money to spend this summer as well. If they do end up losing Wilfried Zaha, that's even worse. Of course, the transfer window isn't done. So Palace for me would be one, most definitely. The other team would be West Bromwich Albion. I know Slaven Bilic has done a very good job with West Brom, bringing them up from the Championship. But I just feel like the Premier League is a little bit difficult in the sense of it's way more it's all a game of a longer run, and if you can sustain for the longer period of time, you will survive. But I just feel like West Brom would struggle in that regard. The third and final team I'll be picking would be Aston Villa, because Aston Villa, I felt like last season they were lucky that they didn't get relegated. Bournemouth suffered towards the end of the campaign. Villa just definitely for me did not have enough to sustain throughout the season, and I just mentioned Jack Grealish, his future is still up in the air. He was so important to them last season. If he ends up leaving this summer, that's even worse for them, and they'll definitely struggle regardless of whether he stays or not. So yeah, Villa would be there. I see you picked four teams. Do we need to pick four teams, or are we good
No,
with
it's a
three?
choice. It's a choice. Which ones do you think will be the sure shot? Anyways, it's all
Yeah.
going to be ridiculed at the end. What we chose and what came out. So it's about picking
Yeah.
the right ones who you think will be struggling, will be in the struggle relegation battle.
Yeah. If I had to pick a fourth team, I think that team would be Brighton.
Interesting.
Because
Despite their transfer business.
yeah, I know they signed. That they signed Adam Lallana. For me, of course, a very good player from Liverpool as well. But I just feel like there isn't enough balance in the team. I like Graham Potter as a manager, but I feel like the kind of football that he likes to play um, is more suited to a team which is slightly higher up in the table, and
Sure.
I think that's where Brighton really struggle because they don't have the players for me who are capable of really fighting for relegation. You know what I mean? You can have players and that kind of sort of thing, but do you have that grit and determination to survive relegation, which I feel like they might not have this season, even if they were able to do it last season. So for me, but no, I don't see them getting relegated per se. I think that the three teams that would be get relegated are Crystal Palace, West Brom, and Aston Villa.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarthak. This is turning out to be a pretty intense and pretty interesting relegation fight already, despite a ball being kicked. So let's get to Sarthak Mondal. Yes, sir.
So my first choice will definitely be Fulham. I don't see them staying up in the Premier League despite not making mistakes or making mistakes. They just don't have the quality to be competing in the Premiership. The second team which I will select is Aston Villa. They just got lucky last year by the VAR essentially. Everyone knows what happened there.
Have they
So
have any one of the clubs filed a lawsuit against them? Do you know? For the
Sheffield
fact,
United is potentially seeking lawsuit of 120 million against the VAR, but they will not get that. What I have heard that Bournemouth want to file a lawsuit, but
yeah,
they don't have the money to file that.
quite interesting. Okay, wow.
Uh,
I was very curious, but thanks, Sarthak, for pointing it out. Yep.
the third team, which I think personally, might be relegated or will be there or thereabouts, is potentially Southampton.
Southampton. Okay.
Ye- I, they have been competing in the lower end of the Premier League table, like say 12th to 16th for the last 1 or 2 seasons, and
Yeah.
they sometimes have a habit of basically putting them in the mess and then getting out of that.
Yep.
But yeah, I think they might struggle this year as well. And the fourth team I will go with is West Bromwich Albion.
Okay. Any?
And that has got a bit to do with the history essentially, because over the last 4 or 5 years, 2 of the 3 teams that have been promoted from the Premiership has gone down straight back.
Straight back. But let me ask you
So
this thing. Do you think Slavan Bilic, I always thought that if West Ham would have persisted with Slavan Bilic, he would have anyways have navigated them in Premier League. They wouldn't have gone down. Do you think Slavan Bilic is not good enough to steer them of safety?
it is not about Slaven Bilic, but it is more about the West Bromwich Albion team, because they will lose quite a few of the loanees they have from the Premier League sides, or even if they have them, they won't be able to play them against the big sides because you are not allowed to compete against your parent club in the Premier League rules.
Yep.
And given they are also coming back to the Premier League after probably 2 or 3 seasons, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm not wrong. Probably
Yeah,
2 or 3
2 or 3
seasons.
seasons back. Yep.
Yeah, so they have to first get over the hangover of playing in the Premiership and then build on from there.
True. Right. Cool. So, yep, there we go with the Sarthak Mundal's choice, and let's finally get to the last but not the least, Somil Dave with his predictions for the relegation fight.
Yes, I think the first two clubs that I'd like to choose would be West Ham and Crystal Palace. I mean, these are two clubs that have basically, I personally don't see them adding a lot of value to the Premier League. There are some brilliant clubs down there in the lower tiers, which, deserves to be in the Premier League. I think these are two clubs which I don't see that they have progressed much in the last few years, right? And with the kind of turmoil that both of them are finding themselves in, I can't see them having good seasons. I mean, Crystal Palace is basically Wilfred Zaha. Will he stay? Won't he stay? If he'll stay, what kind of impact that he will have. And with regards to West Ham, I mean, I don't think they've properly signed a single player this year, and they've sold, I think, one player to West Brom, and now Mark Noble came out and said that it's a disgrace. So I think it's you see that all over once again every single season. When Payet left for France, or Arnautovic left for China, I think it's the same old, same old. I think things will catch up with both of those clubs this season. Third club that I'd like to pick would be Burnley. I think Burnley would be this year's Bournemouth. I think a club basically run by a single person, their manager predominantly signs the English players, and I think they were very, very lucky not to get dragged into the relegation dogfight in the end. The manager wasn't happy. They had ridiculous amount of players leaving.
Yep.
And I think it will catch up with them as well this year. They've had a good run, but again, I can't see them adding a lot to their squad, and I think patience will run out for Sean Dyche. One more club that I think will be there, and I hope they'll be there, except for the first day of the season, would be Leeds. I think I'm never really fond of teams that play brilliantly in championship, because if you're winning throughout the season, you don't really know how to grind out results, and I think that's where Leeds will find themselves in. Bielsa is a brilliant manager and brilliant guy, but I think when the pressure starts coming, when the focus will be on him, I think there will be some stupid things done by him, and it will be fantastic to see. But I think Leeds, as Sarthak said, history plays a big part, and Leeds are supposed to be the team that crumbles under the pressure. I think we've seen, in the last 20, 30 years, we've seen Leeds go through this heartbreak again and again. And again, as Leeds will have so many rivalries. I mean, they'll have Yorkshire Derby, they'll be playing against Manchester United, they'll be playing against Merseyside. So they're basically not any other club will like to face them. They are a bit like Wimbledon of 1990s. So I think once things start falling apart, I think Leeds will be there, and it will be a steep curve for them. So I think that'll be 4 picks for me.
Amazing. I mean, seriously, amazing prediction by all of you in terms of the variety that we have got.